Today we're going to take a look at a popular illustration technique, and that's combining watercolor paint and colored pencils. These are great mediums to mix together because they have some of the same characteristics when they are dry. I'm working on illustration board. This is cold press illustration board, and illustration board really accepts a variety of different media. In this case, we're going to be doing an image of a pear. So I'm beginning by applying layers of orange and yellow in kind of a stippling type fashion to create the texture that's going to be on the pear when we're finished. I'm using a golden nylon brush to apply the watercolor paint, and I'm just kind of putting it on wet, letting some of those colors mix together. And in the process, I'm defining a highlighted side and a shadowed side. I'm also leaving some areas of white by letting the white of the paper show the highlight on the pear. Now, what I'll do with this watercolor paint is I'll apply it to the surface, let it dry, and then I'll probably put a couple more layers of the watercolor paint on top of it, and then I can apply the colored pencils. And if I want to, I can go back and paint around it after I've applied the colored pencils as well. Now, since the pear kind of has an orange color about it, I'm going to go back with some blue, and I'm going to have the pear sitting on a blue surface. This will increase the contrast and make the pear stand out. Again, I'm using light washes of the watercolor, using broad strokes, putting down some water and letting that watercolor just mix with the water that's already there. It's going to create some interesting textures. It's also going to allow me to create a smooth layer of watercolor on the surface. Now I'm going to create a little bit of that shadow with the watercolor paint. And I've let the surface dry, so it's accepting the shadowed areas just a little bit more. I'm also going to darken up some of the blue watercolor by adding another layer of watercolor. I'm also staying pretty loose with the application of watercolor as well. Now, if you want to, you can create a taped out border so that you have nice, sharp, crisp lines around here. Since this is just a sketch for a demonstration, I didn't do that, but you're welcome to do that and create more of a finished edge around your watercolor painting. You can see how that watercolor just kind of blends in with the wet surface, creating that nice texture, especially with the video sped up. Now I'll go back in and darken up that shadow again with another layer of watercolor. And when you're watercolor painting, it's all about creating those layers, creating the depth of the color. Now I've let the surface dry, and I'm going to start to apply my colored pencils. This is going to create more contrast. It's going to allow for areas on the pear to really pop and be crisp. It's also going to allow me to have more control over the details. So at this point, I'm using a dark brown colored pencil to start to add some of the texture on the side of the pear, as well as define that stem just a little bit further. I may also decide to darken up some of the shadowed areas by applying the colored pencil in more broad strokes. Now, the pear is not just orange, it also has yellows and browns and all different sorts of colors in there. So I'm going to use a variety of different colored pencils to add those colors. You'll see I'm using yellow and red mixed together to make orange. So I wouldn't just use an orange or brown, I'd use the colors that mix those colors. And now with a lighter brown, I'm going to add a little bit more detail, a little bit more indication of shadow. And now I'm going to use a dark indigo blue colored pencil and define that shadow just a little bit more underneath the pear. And I'm also going to let it mix with some of the brown to create a more natural black. You'll notice I'm not using a black colored pencil. Black is a strong color, and when I use colored pencils, I never use a black. I'm also going to use kind of a cream color, a light value of yellow, to help indicate that light source just a little bit more on the right side of the drawing. And now, because I want my pear to stand out a little bit more, I'm going to go over it again with one more light wash of blue watercolor. Really trying to spread out the watercolor paint as I apply it so that I have a smooth surface. Don't want to lose the texture entirely, but I do want to have a smooth application of blue watercolor. And there you have the completed pear drawing using watercolor and colored pencils, a match made in heaven.